Right.
Good morning.
Sit down.
I'm Jack Rowell. I'm with Keller Williams. So I'm a realtor. I'm talking about generational wealth, something I'm very passionate about lately. Not only want to be a great provider for my family, but I also want my daughter's children to have a great inheritance. And a little bit more like that. Tricks of the stage.
There you go.
So how do you build generational wealth? That's where we're going to get that. There's a lot of ways to do that. I'm familiar with real estate, so we'll be talking about home ownership and long-term holding investment with real estate. Couple weeks ago, Tom talked about leaving a legacy. In Proverbs 13:22, it says a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. I want to be a good man, so I want to do what Tom was talking about, leave a legacy. And so, is it a good time to buy real estate? I'm so glad you asked. History of mortgage rates. My wife and I just bought a house a couple of months ago. We were stuck with a 5.25 interest rate.
Oh.
And well, yeah, no, but it should be, yeah. And we were mad. We wanted one of these crazy super 2 to 3% interest rates that were available at the beginning of the year. Those are gone now. But now if you look at it historically, and I put handouts around, there's some up here if you don't have one. Historically, we're still very low. You could see in like 2006 or so, we were around 6%. We were up to 7% in the early 2000s. 1990, we were up to 10. In the 80s, we were like at 18. Yeah, hooray. And so, historically, our rates are very low. The most important thing about whatever rate you get into, make sure it's affordable to you and your family. Because if you can continue to make that payment, things will get better. And so appreciation, we're at the top of the market. What's going to happen next? Let's see. Way back here, goodness gracious, I don't even know what that number is. It's like $5, something, where you can buy a house. And you see though, it keeps coming up. Now there's little baby dips here and there, little baby dip, and these gray lines, those are recessions. Okay, so little baby dip here, little baby dip there, little baby dip here. See a little activity right there, big dip, right? That was our big recession. And you see the people that bought at the very top, probably around 06, they lost a ton of equity and they lost it really quick. However, just a few, it starts leveling out, even going a little up around 2010. Within about 7 years, they made their appreciation back. All right. Now, they made their appreciation back, but they kept making their mortgage payment. So their mortgage payment went down, and their appreciation comes up. Around 2010, they've already made a ton. Around 2015, they've already made a ton of equity or appreciation. And so their equity even gets bigger. Right? Now, you keep coming up and it jogs up and down, but always in an upward. Eventually it goes upward. And then what happened here in 2020, the pandemic, right? And that made everything go bananas. And so it went almost straight up. And you can see at the very end, it's starting to curve a little bit. What's going to happen to appreciation? Is it going to come back down? Is it going to continue to go up? Is it going to flatten out? Anybody who says they know doesn't. We don't know for sure. A lot of different philosophies out there. What we do know is if it comes back down, it will. It always rebounds, even in the worst case scenario. I remember betting a guy $20 way back here, and he said, that's never coming back. And I said, never? How can that even be possible? $20. He goes, I said, I bet you within 20 years it comes back. I don't know where this guy is. He still owes me $20. So anyway, we do not know what it's going to be, but we know if you have a good interest rate and you buy, it will appreciate and you will build equity. All right. Now, a lot of people do not want to buy. They like to rent. They like the freedom. They like the convenience. A comedian one time said he wants to start a store called Renters Depot. And it's a big warehouse with a phone right in the middle, and you pick it up and say, something's broke, come fix it. And so people want that convenience. Just know that with that convenience, you pay for it, absolutely. And it's like shopping at 7-Eleven, grocery shopping at 7-Eleven. You don't get as many choices, you don't get as good a product, and you're gonna pay for it.
Yeah, but you get a Slurpee there, though.
You get a Slurpee, and for a nickel more, you get the. You can also get those rotisserie dogs that how long they are. Absolutely, absolutely, $5 or whatever they are. Another thing about renting, you are at the landlord's mercy. All right, he may or may not be a good landlord. Anybody have a bad landlord? I know I have, where, hey, something's broke, I'll get to it when I get to it. You're at their mercy if they want to sell. You're at their mercy if they want to do anything with that property. Now, nowadays, it's a lot harder. California is very tenant friendly. Yep, it's true. However, the landlord will still, it might take him longer, it might take him, and I do it for my clients all the time. I have a listing right now where the people are fighting us. They're going to move. The landlord wants to sell the property, they're going to move, and that's it. And so you're at their mercy. When people complain about, oh, I can't afford my neighborhood anymore, because they don't own. And when you don't own, you don't have control. And one thing, even if any of those things don't come true, the one thing that is a fact, they will raise the rent on you.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah. Now, this is a national median, and it starts in 1940, remember, Carlos? Where it was $27 a month. That was the median rent, and that includes all properties. And right now, we're at 1,100. San Diego, different, well, yeah, depending on what I've seen, between 2,400 and 2,800.
Where is 1,100?
Oh, Mississippi or. Yeah. A lot of these could be retirement communities or whatever the case, but it's a median out of the whole country. And so these three, so that's the trick though, is because this is how you hedge inflation. When rents keep going up, you're locked in at an interest rate. Okay, so you have a fixed expense while everything else goes up. And so that's what people who bought 10 years ago, they have an easy mortgage. You have an easy mortgage, right? Now, not saying that things don't happen and whatever. If everything's the same, you have an easy mortgage to handle. You know, you're not eating top ramen anymore. You're all the way up to rice-a-roni. So, and these three slides I just showed are the same reason it's a fantastic idea to get into rental property. You get to fix your expenses, your major expense here, you know, like labor and all that is still going to go up, or roof is going to go up, whatever. But your major expense, your mortgage, is going to stay the same until you either refi and make your situation better, or you pay it off and make your situation fantastic. So you have your fixed expense while the rent goes up. Okay, so you have a fixed expense, and then, I'm sorry, I don't have enough arms. You have a fixed expense and the rent keeps going up, so your return just keeps growing, right? That with the appreciation. Okay, and so that's the appreciation is really the icing on the cake. Now, but some people will say, well, what's the difference? You know, if rents are gonna go up, as opposed to the prices are gonna go up, what's the difference? The difference is ownership, and the difference is the fixed expense. And there's also tax advantages. If Byron was here, I'd tell you to ask him.
He's here. He's online.
Hey, Byron. Ask Byron about your tax advantages. Okay. Wrong way. All right, so now people who bought back in 1990, it's in here, 1990 in San Diego County, the median price is 181. Who's got a time machine? 181. You know what? I just sold a vacant lot for 255, and it was on a dirt road in National City. No utilities.
250, how much?
255. Yeah, and so you're right. You can't buy anything for 181 unless, I mean, you can, never mind. So the people that bought it in 1990 at 181 and paid their property off 30 years later in 2020. Oh, here we go. They more than quadrupled their value. All righty. Now, a lot of that is the pandemic, right? So let's look at 218, and it more than tripled. That's at 618. And so that doesn't include your tax advantages, and that doesn't include the monthly income that you got. That's just straight value. That's where you get your generational wealth. It's amazing though that we're more expensive than so many other places. The only place we're not more expensive than in Southern California is Orange County. Okay, so now real estate versus stock. And Byron, if you have any other ideas, I'm glad you're not here. One thing I really like is you're more in control with real estate. If you own a bunch of stock in Coca-Cola, they're not going to change the logo because you say so, right? With your property, you're the CEO. You can add value, you can remodel, you can add on, you can add a granny flat nowadays. It's really, they made it more inexpensive and easier to get through that process. And man, those people that are doing that are hitting home runs, because the price to build is not as much as the price to buy. So you're adding square footage, a bed, a bath, whatever, and the income. So if definitely consider granny flats. Leveraging other people's money. Now that's one of the beautiful things about real estate. If you were to buy a property at $500,000, you put $100,000 down, usually 20% for a non-owner occupied property is your loan. So you put in 20%, 100 grand, and there'll be other fees and things like that involved, but we're gonna just stick with the straight math. And you gain 10% appreciation. So now your property is worth 550. You only put in 100,000. So you really got a 50% return on the valuation, right? So that if you were to put that same $100,000 in the stock and got a 10% return, which is fantastic, right? You make 10 grand. So it's a huge difference. More tax advantages, talk to Byron. I'm not even allowed to say that kind of stuff, but there are tax advantages, but I'm not going to get into that. Source of pride and satisfaction. It's cool to rent to a family, to help them out, put them in a nice, clean, safe place. You know, back to Coca-Cola, you can fly out to Atlanta and drive by the headquarters. If that thrills you. I love driving by a property. Oh, look at, I sold that. Oh, I did something with that. That's a fantastic thing. Now, government is on real estate investors' side. I don't know if California is on anybody's side about anything. However, there is, I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead, man.
Well, when you said there's a tax advantage is that you get to depreciate. So you're masking income. I mean, you're kicking it down the road, but it's better to don't pay taxes now and pay it down the road, and then you can do a 1031 exchange. So real estate is the way to go if you can do it.
Yeah, thank you. And that's what I was going to talk about right here is that 1031 exchange, what he was talking about. If you have it's got to be a non-owner occupied property, but if you sell it and you buy something of equal or greater value, you get to skip or defer, kick the can down the street, your capital gains, which is huge. And I don't know if stocks have anything like that or any other industry, but that's a big way to, if you have like that lady who I was just talking about, sold that vacant lot, wasn't making any money. Now she could take those proceeds, put it into something else that does make money and is going to appreciate a lot better than a vacant lot on a dirt road in National City. And I didn't even know there was such things as dirt roads in the middle of the city like that's right between 16th and 18th.
Or
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of those. There's reasons why. Yeah, this poor person has to put the buyers have to put in all their utilities. I mean, including sewer. There's no sewer in the street. There's no water, no electrical, so they have to do everything. Yeah.
How many houses have they put on that lot?
Well, it's zoned for one house. However, with the new SB9, it makes it easier to split your lot. They made it easier and less expensive. So when you split your lot, you could build two houses. And with those two houses, you could put on two granny flats. So essentially, you could put 4 units on there.
That's why they bought it.
Yeah, I still don't know if it's going to, and I hopefully they do great. It wasn't my claim. I was representing the seller, but yeah, hopefully they do something fantastic with it.
what constitutes a house?
A house, where you
One
live,
bedroom, 10 bedrooms, 40 bedrooms.
could be, not my house.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah. A house was anything, what does HUD say? I've seen houses 300 square feet before. Yeah, they're like super, they're mostly for, they're equivalent to a cabin, but they're like a studio house where it's just a kitchen, a bathroom, and a place to, get the Murphy bed. When you say what constitutes a house,
20 bedrooms, 40 bedrooms.
absolutely, and they're out there and they're really expensive. There are some places in Rancho San Diego right now that are for sale that are like 15, 20 bedroom places. And they're like 20, 30 million. So me and you go in on one. Yes.
Back on that, buying that empty lot. Is there any way that you could start living on that while you're actually building it? Could you actually like build a house without the sewer or the electricity and with the city, but you actually live there while you're actually putting it all together?
Yes. The answer is yes.
Well, yes, but now different cities will have different zoning situations. I have another escrow, 120 acres out in Potrero that doesn't have any utilities, anything like that either. But the owner lives on there, and the owner was in a trailer. And so as long as the zoning says there's some places, and they're usually in developments and things like that, where they say, hey, you cannot be in a trailer, you cannot be in an RV, you have to be in a stick and mortar place. before you start living here, because they don't want to create a situation where it takes down the value of your neighbors. But you always have to check with the zoning, and even within a zone, certain properties are configured a certain way where they're outside the zone. What I mean by that, like some places are zoned for 3 units, but the lot's too small. It'll be 3 units per every X amount of square feet. And if you only have a small amount of square feet, then that won't apply to you. And so configuration of the property lines, where you are with utilities and all that, you always have to check with the city. And get like a real person to tell you what's going on, because sometimes you go down, like I went down to National City and asked them questions, and I had to go to 3 or 4 different people, because a lot of times the guy just scratches his head and it's like, this is the way I see it. But what does that mean? And so, you want something concrete, hopefully you get it right.
Do you recommend getting a real estate attorney, and you have a need of a good real estate attorney locally?
A real estate attorney for what purpose?
For discerning some of these zone issues?
I think usually you could get, depending on how complex it is, for a single family vacant lot, I think you could get a lot done by going down to the city yourself, as long as you keep asking the proper
Let's go down to the
questions.
city.
But what's that, brother?
Just go down to the city, they'll give you all the information.
But it's also, you might want to talk to a geological person to make sure that what the ground can, does anything special? Are you on a cliff? What kind of compaction you're going to have to do to put down a foundation? It could get pretty tricky in there. So definitely talk to any kind of professional that makes you feel more comfortable. Don't go into a situation and think, should I talk to somebody? Spend the extra money and talk to that person.
Let me see, there's 3 things here. I think there's 3. Number 1, the question was, can you buy a lot and build on it? Okay, and the answer is yes. You can move on that lot with a trailer for a period of a year or a year and a half. I'm not sure just exactly what the time period is. Then you can live on it, but you have to have access. You have to go down to the city. They're going to be a water permit. You got to hook up the water. You got to put everything in right in the environmental end of it. Then after you build the house, then you take it off. Okay. The second thing that happens is once you have built the home, if you don't build it in that period, you have to move off. Okay, you can't just stay there. That's where the legal part comes in. And then the third part of it is that we own land, lots. And so we understand that right now, I just found out that the land that we have now, 3.5 acres, that we can, that what you call it?
SB 9?
SB 9, that we can go in and subdivide that lot and build a house on it or 2 plant on it. And I didn't even know that myself, and here I am in real estate a lot. So they don't give you knowledge and information. You have to go find it out. Okay.
Yeah, there's also an SB 10 that makes it easier to build multi-units. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you brought it up about stocks versus real estate. You don't have to qualify to buy stock. You have to qualify to buy real estate. Okay, what I'm getting at is this. A lot of times what happens is if you do really well in the stock market, hey, you're probably going to have a down payment for a home and be able to qualify. But that's the thing, that's the difference between stocks and real estate. If you don't have to qualify to buy stock, if you got the money, you can buy the stock.
Give you your amount.
Where real estate, we can't just go, I want to buy that lot, I'm going to do it, but now you got to qualify for it. And how many people can do that? So usually a lot of times the way to buy real estate is to do good in stock markets. That would be the recommended thing. Now buy some real estate because that's the one that's going to be there.
And when you say qualified, you mean like for the loan?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's the thing. You got to qualify. I mean, it sounds all really good, but hey, you can't qualify, you're out. Whereas stock, you can buy stock and it does good, you know, a lot of times. And you know, the thing about real estate is good is they don't make any more dirt. What we have is what we got. They're not making any more land. This is the land we have. And that's what drives it up.
Yeah.
So,
Now, there are a lot of, you say qualified, there's a lot of different ways to skin that cat because there's hard money loans. And there's a lot of different loan programs out there. But yeah, I got clients who can't buy.
right?
You know, absolutely. Yeah, brother.
What about the fellow that just buys that land and says, I just want to live off the grid? I don't want to hook up to any city water or electricity.
Yeah, all right.
What are the restrictions for that?
They won't-
They won't let you do it.
Well,
I mean,
In some areas.
my people out in Potrero
Yeah.
didn't want to be off the grid. They had all kind of plans and all that, but then life got in the way and they were off the grid. And I don't know if anybody's been to Potrero, but it's way east and way south.
It's a way.
And very farmy, but they're off the grid. Like, and they have water trucked in.
Yeah.
And they.
What do they
there's
do for
nothing-
electricity?
So
Batteries,
generators.
batteries, no solar out, they don't have solar out there. But yeah, they didn't get a well done, they didn't get a septic done, so they're essentially camping.
Gotcha.
So yeah, you can, it's just harder.
When I see real estate versus stock, what I think about is with real estate, you can control it. With stock market, you can't control it, and you might be investing in an organization that is investing in the woke community, like Disneyland, Nike, and Coca-Cola. So it's like, I prefer to stay in the situation where I can control where the money's gonna go to and support my thoughts, my convictions.
No, I dig you there. But now back to his point on stocks. What your control is buying and selling, you know, and so that's something you can, if you got a stock, somebody's gonna buy it, right? Right. I mean, so it's immediately, you can get rid of it. So that's the one power you have.
He just said that you can control real estate. I disagree with that totally. Because real estate goes up, real estate goes down, you have no control over it. Okay?
And zoning changes.
Everything
your
is
neighbors
changing
change.
constantly. Yeah, property goes up and down. Right now, the real estate market is going sky high. And right now, there's an adjustment coming in. That's what you're talking about. That adjustment
Right now.
could cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars real quick, okay?
If
Stock
you
market-
sell,
Huh?
if you sell.
Well, okay, and then the stock market, on the other hand, I invested in some stock, I don't want to give the numbers, but I invested and sold like $350,000 worth of stock, used that money and paid off my building. And right, and now I am in control of that property. When the property's paid off, you're in control of it, but when it's not paid off, you're not in control. Okay, just that simple.
Sure, but I mean, you do have, even when it's not paid off, you can still, as long as the zoning and the legality of it, you can do things to it too. You know, apartments put in vending machines or coin operated laundry. There's other ways to increase the profitability. Now, you can always buy more stock if something's going good, you know, and I don't know enough about stock to even, you know, obviously there's people do make money in it. Yeah, brother.
A couple of things is, you know, you can get in the stock market with 30 grand. 30 grand, you can't even talk real estate, okay? In this state, you know, I had an inheritance and I had a down payment. I couldn't get anyone to finance me a condo or a home because of my lack of income after the down payment. So you can get started in the stock market with 25, 30 grand and hope it will, you know, make 10 more grand and then maybe jump to real estate, but you certainly can't get started in any real estate for 30 grand. And my second comment is, I hear China is buying up a lot of this land over here and in California and strategic land, farmland. And is that why the real estate price in San Diego or Southern California is so high that other country is buying land
It's
here.
part of it, sure, but I mean, it's when people buy, when a lot, and China didn't buy in California, US stuff for a long time. But, when people buy, that's when things go up. And so hopefully they get stuck with something they don't want.
I just wanted to comment, there are different animals, stock in real estate. But really, as an investment, me personally, I'd rather invest in something that's real. I mean, that's actually real and tangible, like gold, silver, precious metals, real estate, where stock isn't really tied to anything that's real and tangible. I think so, like, to your point, is that even if it depreciates, it's gonna come back up, it's gonna appreciate again, because it's real.
It's kind of like where you live. If you live in the stock market area, and I make several millions of dollars doing it, so you can make money in the stock market if you know what you're doing.
Tons of people do.
And if you know what you're doing in the housing market, you can invest in the housing market and make a lot of money, or you could lose money.
I've lost money.
You understand?
I've lost
So-
money. Yeah.
I guess I'm the last
Go ahead.
question. So my question is this, can you comment about how real estate is approaching in terms of pivoting with COVID, with office space not being used, with business models that for many, Intuit's one of them, there's a lot of leaders now that Cisco, that are not using office space, everyone's gonna be from home remote. What's gonna happen with that? That real estate, and are there opportunities there?
Yes, and what's going to happen, and that's the asterisk. What's, there's lots of, people saying they know what's gonna happen. I can't say I do know what's gonna happen. I know from between May and June, the median home price in San Diego went down $15,000. And that's $855 to $840, which is spitting in the ocean. And last July, between July and August, it went down 25,000. So what does 15,000, mean right now? I mean, that's spitting in the ocean, and it might not mean anything, but there's more inventory. Since April, it's more than doubled the inventory. Things are going to escrow slower, and sellers are they're still arrogant right now, but they're coming off that arrogant, and all the aggressive buyers already bought. They already went through the thing, and they already fought through it, and they were willing to bid up. Now, the people left over don't want to play those games. And they're willing to negotiate. Some of them have to negotiate now because the interest rates are so high. And so right now, we're going through a shift. Where that shift is going to go, I mean, that's the asterisk. And that's why whatever you buy, if you buy, plan it out for 5, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. Don't plan it out for the next couple of months. And I'm getting the get off the mic thing. I'm Jack Rowell.
There's a lot of info on real estate. I've been in San Diego since 1980, and definitely buying and selling is a good thing. Holding on is also a good thing for the future. I'm going to remind everyone, next week, we're going to have either Chris or Carlos to speak with us. Thank Lisa for helping with our early. Invite your friends and on Zoom, and just pass that little text message along, and our Biz for Christ website is very important to pass along, because there's a lot of people that still need to hear all the good information that comes from this class. And let's just bow our heads in prayer. Heavenly Father, I thank you for the group here, Lord. I thank you for the wisdom that comes to this room, Lord. I just pray everyone is blessed this week going forward, Lord. And I thank you for the many miracles in each one of our lives, Lord. I pray that we can keep our eyes on you and stay focused towards your goodness and grace. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. And with that, we'll see you next week.